Hello everybody and welcome back to Star Citizen. More specifically, welcome back to Grimhex. This is the place that I've been hanging around at for quite a while now. Oh, let's get up and get our butts going. I'll tell you, they got the creepy factor down and the dinginess just down perfectly. Hey, my God, this place reminds me of my old college dorm so much. It also reminds me of the kind of place that if you looked at it under a black light, every inch of it would probably glow. No, not just glow, it would pulsate. It's so grimy. You can feel the years of grime on this place, as generations have lived here and not cared about it one bit. Another thing too, let's take this light off. It's something I just kind of noticed when I was running around is, now you can kind of see if you look up in this corner really well, is not only this, this area right up above us is a whole new level, but there's an area above that as well. Now, this is the highest level that you can actually go to in-game right now. And I really feel that they've added a lot of area to expand into. Yeah, there's already doors up there, there's already areas. All you'd need to do is to add one more level into the elevator to go up to, and it would be good to go. So it shows you how much they're actually going to be expanding in the future. And I know what you say, you know, yeah, that could be done cosmetically just to give the illusion of more space than there is. Very possible. But I know for a fact they're going to be, and right here is a good example of how they're going to be expanding into the future. Another YouTuber managed to worm his way through this collision in the 2.6 build, and there's a whole series of elevators just past here leading down to what I assume are going to be the hangars. And the new hangars that they're working on right now are going to be putting into the game with, I believe, the truck stops. And there's going to be all different size hangars. And it's going to eliminate a lot of problems with some of these landing zones. And hopefully, what I'm really hoping on the most is that it's going to be the first step towards tying our personal hangars into the game, which would be a lot of fun. So, I just kind of want to point that out. It's just something I was noticing when I was just walking around here the other day. So, speaking about hangars, so as soon as I was done recording the previous footage you were just looking at, no sooner does an episode of Calling All Devs come out with specific information relating to hangars. And it was good. It was a good watch. It was more than just them saying, "Oh, we're working on it." They actually gave a lot of specific info on where the future of hangars is actually going to be going. All of our current hangars are going on roughly being around 4 years old now, and surprise, surprise, they're not suited for being tied into the universe as it stands. So they don't fit the matrix, the opening, the internal sizes, all of that needs to be redone. So that's exactly what they're doing. Instead of trying to put duct tape on an old system, they're just rebuilding all of the hangars from the ground floor up. And currently, right now, they're about in the white box phase. And the game plan for having them being implemented into the game is they want to have it coinciding with the release of the major landing zones that are coming out. So the timetable they gave us was roughly the end of this year and quite possibly pushing into the beginning of next year depending on how things go. And with CIG's track record, sometimes they're ahead of the game. You know, when you talk about moons and moon landings, they're years ahead when it comes to that kind of technology, because that wasn't really supposed to be brought out until after the game goes live. And then in other instances, they can go way later than they propose. So we're just going to have to see how that progresses over time. And this move doesn't worry me at all, because whenever they end up redoing something, they always make it vastly better than it was before. So not only is it going to be more modular and tie into the world that they're creating, chances are it's going to look 100% better than it did in the past, because they have all new modeling techniques to work with, a far larger group of people to use to work onto it. And they've done things like this in the past before. I mean, I believe anybody who's been a part of this game for a while remembers the deluxe and the discount hangars, and I believe the third one was called the business hangar. And those were removed and replaced with the Revel in York, the Arrowview, and the Self-Land hangar. And I believe the new versions of the hangers are low-tech and high-tech. So essentially they're going to have the exact same functionality that they had before and the same kind of general look and feel. They're just going to basically have a much higher level of fidelity than they had in the past. Another thing I thought was really funny in that same episode of Calling All Devs, they brought up the fact that repair is scheduled to be added in I believe 3.2, and yet there's no repair ships that are scheduled to be put into the game for this year. And it's almost kind of like, okay, so what's going on there? And they went in and they further clarified what's happening with the repair mechanic. Apparently it's going to be the first iteration of repair is what they're going to be putting in, not revolving around ships. But it's going to be an item almost kind of like a backpack that you're going to be put on that's full of material. And you're going to have like a pseudo gun kind of thing. So you'd EVA or walk over to or whatever to your damaged ship and manually start repairing the ship, because essentially it's the exact opposite process of damaging a ship, so they just have to do the same thing in reverse. So it's very doable right now. And like I said, this is going to be the first iteration of repair, so they're going to be adding to it, fixing it, and of course it's going to be buggy. I mean, the first iteration of everything is always going to be buggy. So we're going to be working all that out, and I think after they've got that process down, then they're going to move on and add it to the repair ships themselves, which will be coming out later on. And as the next thing I wanted to tackle was a question I got in my comments section, and I just didn't get it once. I've gotten this repeatedly from a number of new players who are talking about how to outfit your ship with components and weapons, and they were afraid that they were doing it wrong. And I gotta say, they were probably doing it right, but they were encountering some bugs to make them feel like they were doing it wrong. And there's a few things you ought to know. Like, you can replace the weapons and component systems on your ship in any number of different ways, but only one of them is going to be reliable for right now. For instance, you can try and do it through your mobi-glass. You can also go into Arena Commander under the ship customizations and switch up what weapons and components your ship has. And you can even go into your hangar and switch up the different weapons and components that your ship is currently using. But none of those changes are going to persist. Like, as soon as you leave the hangar, your ship is going to default to whatever it is in the persistent universe. And you can also basically go into your mobi-glass, and from here, go over to this option right here, the Vehicle Loadout Manager for your ship. Select your ship, and let's go over to the Saber. Now, if you do anything to your Saber right now, now that I have it pulled and it's out on the strut and make any changes, my ship will disappear. And I've also had issues with this so far, trying to, especially with the weaponry, trying to fix things. Because if you notice right here on the right wing, it's labeled twice, and over here it's labeled twice. There's a lot of issues with doing it through this system as well, so I don't bother with that also. This right here, hello, little light please. What just happened? We just went into complete darkness. Alright, well forget it. We'll just keep going here. Let's just get up nice and close and personal to the ship. I don't want to take... Oh, there we go. Good. Bring some light back on here. Stop blocking my view. I'm trying to show people something. Work with me. There we go. That's better. That's a little nicer. I don't want to be doing this in complete darkness. But the only way to reliably switch up your weapons components right now, well, your weapons or your components, is to go over here and to pull a ship right after you've loaded into the game, bring it out onto one of the struts, and then come out and just manually switch whatever it is you want to switch. Like for right now, I'm going to be switching these weapons. Let's go to the size 3. I don't want to be hitting the wrong thing. I don't want to be using the removing the gimbal. I want to be removing the whole assembly. Now, I'm going to be replacing that with a Panther repeater. Bam. There you go. We're good to go. And just do the same thing on the other side. And let's click on that. And let's look down here. Go down past the gimbals. Unfortunately, I have so much crap just cluttering up the space. Let's go over here. There's another free one. And I just replaced the guns. And there you go. And this will persist. So if I just went back into my hangar and pulled another ship, and then I pulled my Saber again, it would have this loadout. And you do the exact same thing for everything else. Like, here's the power plant. I'm not going to change this for anything. And ideally, don't hit that button, because that's going to unequip whatever it is that you have. You hit this one over here if you just want to back out of the menu. And you do that for everything. And this is the only reliable way that I would say to be able to change your components and your weapons on the ship for right now. Unfortunately, a lot of these other things are not working because they're converting the weapons over from item system 1.0 to 2.0. And until they get that whole process working, they're not going to work in the menus. And that's going to be an issue just for right now. And like I said, I'm hoping with items, or with the new update that's being dropped, and all the changes they're doing to the menus, and updating all the weapons and all the systems and all of that, that's going to all go away and not be an issue anymore. So, fingers crossed. And of course, obviously, when that happens, I'll be doing another video on that. But in the end, there's supposed to be multiple ways of actually configuring your ship, but right now, this is the only way I would recommend. And there's only one other little twist right now. If I get into this ship, and I take off and I land, I'm no longer going to be able to access those hard points. They just kind of disappear. And the only way to get them to reappear that I know of 100% is to back out of the game, reload back into it, and then pull a ship, and then they'll be waiting for you with all the hard points available. It's a pain in the butt right now. It's inconvenient, but you know, alpha. That's all I really gotta say about it. It's alpha, man. As long as there's one system that's reliably in where you can change your components and weapons, oh, that's good enough. Just stick with that just for right now. Just stick with it for another couple of weeks. That's all I gotta say, and you'll be good to go. So those were the three main topics I really wanted to hit on in this video, which was the hangars, the new updated information about the hangars that they just gave, the information on repair, which seemed like a conundrum to a lot of people, which, you know, rightfully so. I mean, it completely didn't make any sense. But so it's good that they elaborated on that and let us know what was going on with the repair feature. Repair coming in, repair ships not coming in. What's going on? So like I said, I'm glad they went into that in more detail. And the very last thing is I wanted to address that issue for people who are having trouble putting components and weapons onto their ships. And essentially, you know, you're having trouble with it, just pull a ship, go out to the strut, put them on manually yourself. It's the only way that really works reliably. You know, there's a whole other series of systems you can use that will work on occasion, but are very problematic. But in the meantime, you know, just pull the ship and put them on yourself on the strut. You know, it's the best way to do it. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining me for this episode of Star Citizen, and I hope to see you again in the future. Take care, everybody.